Oh, hello, boys. It is me, Bingle Dingle here. We're going to go over another Amazon build. Yes, you did hear that right. So, this is going to be an ice bow Amazon. Now, I came across this last season when doing a public game, and I questioned the guy about like bits and pieces that he was using. I'm like, okay, maybe I'll have another look at it. I would still classify this as off meta. I don't see it too much, but it is a more closer to mainstream type build that you may have seen before. Some pieces on it I have changed, so I'll go through and show you guys that. You might find it interesting on what my take is on this kind of in-game ice build. So, we'll get into it, boys. Stat, skills, and gear, and then we'll get, I don't know, go out for coffee or something, I suppose. Strength is 65 base. Pretty low. We get a lot from, obviously, Enigma, but we are not using CTA on this, so I need to save as many stats as possible, and we're going to pump them into Vitality. Okay? So we've opted for a Mage Blade Enigma, so we can get that strength buff as soon as possible, and then we just move on. Alright? Dexterity is obviously higher. Every point that we have in dexterity when using ranged weapons is going to give us more damage per shot, more physical damage, right? So not only that, cool, but we also need that to wield our bows, okay? So matriarchal bow is dexterity requirement of 187. Moving on. Vitality is nice and big, energy is nice and small, and then we can move over to skills. So, bow and crossbow skills, this is the majority. There's a few different ways you can kind of spec this, but here is what I have, okay? So, I've put into the following. We're maxing out Freezing Arrow, we get cold damage per level synergy from Cold Arrow, and then we get Ice Arrow synergy from Freeze Length, right? We get Freeze Length per level. So, you don't really need the freeze length per level if you don't want it. You can just max out the Cold Arrow synergy and Freezing Arrow itself and just skip this entirely and put points into Valkyrie if you like, that's fine. But with how I'm playing, I really enjoy having that extra freeze length, and that's just how I wanted to do it, okay? But there is opportunity to make more of a hybrid approach, and one thing that I have here is 1 point wonders down into Immolation Arrow in case I want something for an immunity mob, but it's really unnecessary. The other thing I do have is my extra points I have into Guided Arrow up to 7, Strafe up to 9, okay? Because we're going to be using that to gain some of our mana back, because Freezing Arrow, as you can see, costs 19 mana per shot, alright? We're going to be shooting nice and quick, which we'll touch on in a second. Jab and spear skills is empty, and passive and magic skills is where we're going to have the leftovers. 1 point wonders all across the board, except penetrate, so that is up to max for attack rating, okay? Now, our pierce, we're getting 75 from that already. That is enough. You can change what you put your extra points into for these if you'd like. Critical Strike has severe diminishing returns. Most of our damage is elemental. That's why we don't care about that. We can still benefit from using Inner Sight and slow missiles on occasion. And then we have Decoy and one into Valkyrie just to help position, you know? But again, your main point that you guys can choose if you want is, do you want phrase length on your shots or not? And then you've got free 20 skill points to move around. Let's get into the gear, boys. So, the main piece is I've got an ice and a matriarchal bow and a +3, okay? So, this, I just realized it doesn't have +3 on the base, so I forgot to generate that. That's pretty awkward. Let's move on. So, this bow doesn't have +3. Hopefully yours does. But this is awesome. It gives you Holy Freeze Aura, which is great. You can slow things in the area before you hit them, right? But it gives you a big chunk of minus cold res and plus cold skill damage, okay? Matriarchal bow is faster than the Grand Matron, if you're wondering. Now, over to the helmet, we've got a circlet, 2 Amazon skills, 20 FCR, 2 sockets in here. Any blue item, you have 50-50 chance at Larzik to get 2 sockets, and I opted for facets. You can switch this around to get more increased attack speed, depends on what your gear setup is. For this, I went for max damage on that helmet spot. Next, I have an amulet. This, I need up to 18% cast rate, because I have a ring with 10%, I have a Rax for 20, and I have my amulet, my circlet up here for an extra 20, so we can reach that 68 frame breakpoint. We have gloves, 3 crossbow skills, 20 increased attack speed, Raven Frost at the end, with some silk weaves, which are underrated for these Amazon builds, so 5 mana after each kill. Down here, life and all res, we have a Sunder, we have bow and crossbow skills with life. Now, on Switch, we have a Grand Matron in a Hustle Rumor, okay? So this is going to allow us to strafe, to proc Hustle. Now, that burst of speed proc is going to last for 90 seconds, boys. That is going to bump up our freezing arrow when we switch back from 2.5 shots per second to over 3 seconds at 3.13. If I change my circlet and get rid of the facets, I can potentially bump my attack speed higher, but then it comes down to the fight of, do you have enough mana to sustain that consistent output, else it's not really relevant. And I found that 3.13 is enough for me, and I wouldn't go farther than that. For the Mercenary, I have a Blessed Aim Mercenary with an Andes, Fortitude, and Infinity. That works pretty well for me. I don't really care about using Might too much. I'm going to hop over to Stony Field. I'm going to get that leg and do some cows, boys. But I'm going to start on switch here with Strafe and get my burst of speed proc up, which is very quick. Very quick, just on switch. There we go. Done. Every single strafe shot is going to pierce as well, so that's just brilliant. Let's shoot a couple here already. Look at those shot speed, boys. It's incredible. But this thing really shines in cows and other areas, and having sufficient cast rate on an Amazon is really fucking important. I mean, you guys know, if you've been playing this, that cast rate frames are the worst on an Amazon compared to other builds. And, oh god, it's important to have the cast rate when you get it, okay? So, we're shooting over 3 per second. Our cold damage is the following. We've got over, well, about just over a K, right, for single target. And then we've got well over 3,000 for our AoE. Let's find a big pack and explode them. Switch back to our ice and shatter everything across. Over 4,000 on here. Beautiful. It's great from teleporting to different packs. Depending where you're farming, you can really choose what sort of cast rate frame you feel like you need, and then fit in what kind of attack speed breakpoint you need. But again, I would kind of choose what breakpoint you want first, depending on where you're farming, right? As I said, if we could shoot 3.5 per second, there's not much point if we can't maintain that output for the whole duration, right? With this, we can see if I sit here and keep shooting, my mana does drop pretty fast, but then I can switch back, hop into strafe, get my mana up very easily, and then move back on. So there is a little bit of slight downtime depending where you're shooting. But if you're killing mobs, getting some mana per kill, that's a very good option. Now, another thing to look out for is amulets and rings with mana steal. I would also go for circlets with mana after each kill. You can get jewels that have increased attack speed of 15% with 3 mana per kill if you're lucky. 2 mana per kill is a little bit cheaper, but those will add up when you're killing mobs, and you can see how much work the Silkweaves are putting in when we do end up killing a pack, just like that. Here we are, Cow King over here. Beautiful. Let's switch back here. We can strafe for a little bit, get the mana back up, and then move on. Awesome. I'm going to find a different spot for us to farm. I'm going to go over to Cow Sanctuary and show you a little bit of work in more of a dangerous area with some resistant mobs. I found this build quite fun. I was pretty tempted, actually. I had this on my shortlist to choose for this season, and I was close. I haven't actually made a Zon before, so I mean, this could still be an option for me to do. Let's hop back over here. There we go. 3.13. We've lost no, burst of speed is still on, which is good. Very quick to proc. Strafe to get some mana, and then we're good to go. Teleport over here, get them in a line. You boys know if you're playing anything with ranged or with pierce, you try and teleport in a position where you can get most in a line. Get the best bang for your buck per shot. There we go. Alright, let's get some mana back and teleport through. Let's clear this Cow Sanctuary, eh? Awesome. 4,000 AoE. Such a really fun build. It takes a bit to really get some of these spots in place, particularly getting the ice room word as well, but you know, getting a really good roll of minus res and plus cold skill, it really pays dividends, right? It makes all your plus skills go further, and even if you got plain bow and crossbow skillers, there's just so much more. So much more. But one thing I really like about this is the option for different cheap circlets, okay? A 220 Amazon circlet is pretty cheap in comparison to a lot of other class ones. I found them not too hard to get my hands on. I did try and get a couple last season, and unfortunately I didn't really get any 2 sockets, so that was a bit of a bummer, but it's quite nice. If you get one with, you know, even 1 skill, 20 FCR and some other stuff, you can always get mana per kill on the circlet itself, you know? And that makes it really helpful with this type of build. Because don't forget, Freezing Arrow is 19 mana cost per cast. Let's strafe, get that up again. Such a fun build. It is so satisfying as well, just doing cows and just absolutely shattering. You can bump up the play count a little bit more with cows, and you really benefit in even like group games, right? You're freezing everything for 4 seconds and they're just frozen on the spot. Oh, it's brilliant. What is your guys' favorite Amazon build that's not like a typical Javazon build? I'd say Javazon is probably one of the top ones I might hear, but I don't know, hopefully there's a few bow builds. Maybe there's some other options you might consider. I know some of you guys have been interested in, I've seen some comments like, Billy, make some more Amazon builds, so this is my attempt to try and do some more, and one that I've been working on for a little bit. So I hope you've been enjoying this one. Let's finish off Diablo over here and then close out this video, Obliterated. Nice, we still got burst of speed, we are good. Let's chuck out Valkyrie for this one. Come on, Diablo. Inner sight, let's go. Done. Didn't even finish my mana pool. Only had 1 pot on there. And then I'm good to go. Boys, teleport is still viable, okay, on a boa. You don't need to stack all the run speed skillers. It's worth it. Strafe, hustle, you can get your mana back quite easily. Burst of speed to get your attack speed up. You don't necessarily need this. You can still get COA. You can still get a whiz spike on switch and save cast rate. You know, there's different ways to do it. But I think we need to see some more teleporting Amazons out there, boys. Because I want to see some more. I want to see some more freezing arrows in some pub games. You know what I'm saying? Alright. Have a good one, boys. I'll see you around.